Hello everyone. I am Shubha Hiremat, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Dharwad. In this video, let us know about Louis MacNeice, who composed the poem Prayer Before Birth. MacNeice was born on September 12, 1907 in Belfast, Ireland. He attended Oxford, where he majored in classics and philosophy. In 1930, he married Joanna Ezra and accepted a post as classics lecturer at University of Birmingham, a position he held until 1936 when he went to teach Greek at Bedford College for Women, University of London. In 1941, he joined the British Broadcasting Company as a staff writer and producer. Like many modern English poets, MacNeice found an audience for his work through British radio. Some of his best known plays, including Christopher Columbus and The Dark Tower, were originally written for radio and later published. Louis MacNeice belonged to 20th century poets, and in 1930s their major concern was related to World War. He wrote many poems on the disasters of war and its impact on the world. Early in his career, MacNeice was identified with a group of politically committed poets whose work appeared in Michael Roberts' anthology New Signatures. MacNeice drew many of the texts for Modern Poetry, a personal essay from the New Signature poets. Modern poetry was MacNeice's plea for an impure poetry expressive of the poet's immediate interest and his sense of natural and social world. Despite his association with young British poets like Stephen Spender, W.H. Auden, writer Christopher Isherwood, and other left-wing poets, MacNeice was as mistrustful of political programs as he was of philosophical systems. He was never a member of the Communist Party or any other political groups, and he was quite candid about the ambiguities of his political attitudes. "My sympathies are left," he wrote, "but not in my heart or my guts." Although he chose to live the majority of his adult life in London, he frequently returned to the landscape of his childhood. Early in his career, MacNeice was identified with a group of politically committed poets whose work appeared in Michael Roberts' anthology New Signature. MacNeice never belonged to any political groups. He was purely a poet who expressed his views without any hesitation. It may be on war, it may be on the corrupt society and man's greed. All the modern evils are reflected in his poems. Although he chose to live the majority of his adult life in London, MacNeice frequently returned to the landscape of his childhood, and he took great pride in his Irish heritage. His poetry is characterized by its familiar, sometimes humorous tone and its integration of contemporary ideas and images. In addition to his poetry and radio dramas, MacNeice also wrote the verse translation The Agamemnon of Aeschylus, translated Gaethe's Faust, and collaborated with Auden on the travelogue Letters from Ireland. In August of 1963, MacNeice, on location with a BBC team, insisted on going down into a mine shaft to check on sound effects. He caught a chill that was not diagnosed as pneumonia until he was fatally ill. He died on September 3, 1963, just before the publication of his last book of poems, The Burning Perch. He was 55 years old. MacNeice wrote in the introduction to his autumn journal, "Poetry, in my opinion, must be honest before anything else, and I refuse to be objective or clear-cut at the cost of honesty." He has inspired many poets since his death, particularly those from northern England, such as Paul Muldoon and Michael Longley. There has been a movement to reclaim him as an Irish writer rather than a satellite of Auden. Prayer Before Birth is one of the most famous poems written by Louis MacNeice. It was written during Second World War. It places the realities of an evil world into the mouth of an unborn baby. The newborn baby is quite innocent, as he has not even taken his first breath in the world. However, his knowledge of all things evil allows the reader to understand the true gravity of the evils of the world. It makes one feel sympathy toward this new baby and all that he would experience during life. The poem reveals speaker's depression and hopelessness, expressing the thought that the world would not correct itself but continue in its evils. Prayer Before Birth is a poem that is relevant still today and grows more powerful as the world becomes a most dangerous place. It is a dramatic monologue but has the pattern of an incantation and the spirit of a prayer. I hope you will read and enjoy this poem written by Louis MacNeice. With this brief introduction about the poet and the poem, I will conclude my lecture. Thank you.